Mortified. That's how I felt the first time that they asked me to do a presentation in my early 20s. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and yes, some people climb Mount Everest. Some people participate in Naked and Afraid. I became an IT professional. When I went to my mother and I told her that I was going to go to school to become a programmer, she said, one day something's going to take something away from you. Do you know what that's called? And I said, stealing. And she said, no, income tax. So I started college, and sometimes we take it for granted, our roots. They had this computer called the ENIAC, and it filled a room 4 times the size of this room. It had 17,000 tubes, the old tubes that you used to have in your old TV sets. And when they flipped it on, it dimmed the lights in Pittsburgh. It took so much power. The combination of speed and programmability allowed for thousands more calculations than the latest mechanical computer, and it was able to do a calculation that took 20 hours in a matter of minutes, 20 hours that a man would do in a matter of minutes. The ENIAC can do about 5,000 instructions a minute. In comparison to our new computers here, handheld phones that are actually our computers, this can do like 200,000 or 200 million instructions a second. Back in 1949, Popular Mechanics had the foresight to put in an article that one day computers will be less than 1.5 tons. That was compared to the ENIAC, which was 47 tons. So anyway, go forward. I'm in college, and I'm looking for a job because I'm paying my way through college. And I see this job for a computer operator. And I decide that looks like a good job. It's right in my field. And I put my application in, and I got an interview. So they asked the normal questions, like, why do you think you're appropriate for this job, and what are your strengths and weaknesses, and that kind of thing. And then the guy said, do you know what a typewriter is? And I said, yeah. And he said, do you know how to type? And I said, yeah. And then he said, have you ever been in a room with a computer? And I said, yeah. And he said, when can you start? So, moving on, I finished college, and about 10 years later, I'm working for this company, and the sales guy asked me if I could put a demo together because they were doing programs on a mini computer. So we went from mainframes to minis. And so PCs were pretty popular at the time. I put a demo together on 3 floppies, and he would mail out these floppies. And one day I was sitting at my desk, working away, and he comes running in, and he said, I got this lady on the phone, she's having problems with my demo. And I said, well, did she follow the instructions? And he says, I think she did. And I said, what's the problem? He says, it doesn't work. So I go running over there to his office, and he's got the lady on the speakerphone. And so he introduces me. And I didn't have my red cap and my blue pants on, but he said, we got Super Mario here. And that's what they called me because of all the issues I was able to resolve. So I asked the lady, he introduced me, and I asked her, I said, what seems to be the problem? She said, it doesn't work. And I said, well, did you follow the instructions? And she said, yeah. And I said, well, you have the C prompt up there. And she said, yeah. And I said, what happens when you type A:"demo? And she says, it says, please insert the floppies. I said, did you insert the floppies? And she said, yeah, that's the first step on the instructions. So I said, okay, do you have the door closed? And she said, yeah, I have the door closed. Okay, I said, take the floppies out. So there's this long pause. And you know, when you have somebody on the phone, 10 seconds is a long time. So I asked her, I said, do you have the discs out yet? And she said, well, I'm having a problem. And I said, well, what's the problem? She said, well, you know, I was able to get 2 discs in, but when I tried to get the third one in, it wouldn't fit. So now we're moving on. My daughter's getting ready to go to college, and I went to AAA, and I got all the maps, and we're driving to her college. And you know, with maps, you can't be pulling out the map and driving around. So I kind of got lost, and I pulled over, and I looked at the map, and I decided, okay, I think I know where we are. And I start driving down the road, and all of a sudden I hear this voice, this little voice. It says, in 100 yards, make a U-turn. And I look over, and it's my daughter. And she's got her phone, and I did not know it could be used as a GPS. And I was so surprised. And the thing is the phone knew that I had gotten lost, too. So it was just mind-boggling to me about the technology, and that this was like 7, 8 years ago that they had that on a phone now. So anyway, I got her to college, and when I got there, I was being reminded that the reason why I took the job as a programmer was that I thought what they were going to do is they're going to stick me in a room, and I was going to work away, and they'd either slide the pizza under the door or open the door and give me the pizza, and I'd do my work, and when I was done, I'd just open the door and pass it back, and I'm done, right? And I'd give me the next job. But I had to have my coming out. I had to come out, and I had to give that presentation. And that's why I was mortified. Mr. Toastmaster.